My dear people of God, with great joy, I would like to present a brief description on recent encyclical Dilexi Te, I have loved you. In the first chapter of Dilexi Te, Pope Leo XIV presents a great challenge to both the church and society to unite concrete commitment to the poor with a challenge of mentality that has cultural consequences. It is not only about social assistance but about transforming the way we see the poor and organize community life. This transformation is a cultural conversion, inseparable from spiritual conversion, because the way we look at the poor reveals how we understand God. The illusion of false happiness. The Pope denounces the illusion of happiness based on accumulation and personal successes, values promoted by a culture that discards others without even noticing, tolerating with indifference that millions die of hunger. This mentality grows out of meritocratic and individualistic ideologies that reduce human dignity to productivity and make poverty seem like a personal failure. The result is ethical blindness. The poor become invisible or bothersome, and inequality is accepted as an inevitable price of progress. A call for cultural renewal. The desired change of mentality, therefore, has wide cultural implications. It calls for rebuilding the foundations of human coexistence, replacing the logic of competition with a culture of solidarity. Pope Leo speaks of the cultural renewal that goes beyond public policies and requires a new social ethos and a spirituality of care and sharing. It means learning to see the other as a sacrament of Christ's presence. This is the true cultural revolution of the gospel. The poor are no longer a problem, but a theological place, the visible face of the Lord. Denouncing prejudices. The Pope strongly denounces enduring prejudices, meritocracy that glorifies winners, economism that measures people's worth by productivity, paternalistic charity that treats the poor as objects rather than subjects. Dilexi Te affirms that the poor do not exist by chance or by bitter destiny. They are victims of unjust structures and mindsets that perpetuate exclusion. Breaking these prejudices means rediscovering the heart of the gospel and human fraternity. My dear people, the poor as evangelizers. From the biblical and ecclesiastical perspective, the poor are not passive recipients but protagonists of evangelization. Pope Leo recalls that God has chosen the poor, letter to James chapter 2 verse 5, and made them the heart of the church. The preferential option for the poor, born from the divine compassion, is the logic of the incarnation itself. Christ became poor so that we might be enriched by his poverty. St. Paul's second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 8, verse 9. Loving the poor, therefore, is the loving Christ himself, not out of philanthropy, but out of faith. Tradition and the culture of solidarity. This culture of solidarity has deep and root in the early church. Let us look at what the saints has told us. St. John Chrysostom thought, do you wish to honor the body of Christ? Do not despise him in the poor. St. Augustine and St. Basil the Great reminded that sharing with the poor is not charity, but justice. What you give to the poor is not yours, it's already belonged to them. These witnesses show that Christian faith forms culture whenever it becomes embodied in acts of communion. I would like to conclude with the conversion of the heart is the soul of this encyclical. Ultimately, the change of mentality is conversion of the heart. Dilexi Te calls the church and society to rediscover through compassion the true culture of life. Love for the poor, far from being ideology, is the measure of the gospel authenticity. In a world that produces discarded people, Pope Leo XIV proposes the culture of encounter, inspired by Pope Francis, where every person is recognized as a brother or sister. The new culture begins when we stop asking, "Who is my neighbor?" and start becoming neighbors to all. God bless all of us.